Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to talk to you today about V8 Dundee and how you reconnect a city with its waterfront. So as you can see, Dundee's best asset is its waterfront location and its river, the River Tay. As you might imagine, the river has always played a huge part in the fortunes of the city. Most notably in the 19th century when Dundee became the capital of the world's jute industry. And the reasons for this are really very relevant to today. It was all to do with design and innovation and Dundee's expertise in whaling, shipbuilding and weaving. So design and innovation also played a role in the creation of Dundee's bridges. The Tay Rail Bridge, when it was constructed in 1877, was the world's longest rail bridge at 3.5 kilometres. Then we have our road bridge. This was it in construction, and obviously it looks complete today. When it was constructed in 1966, it was 2.5 kilometres long. Like many European cities, Dundee faced post-industrial decline in the mid-20th century, and this bridge was decided that this would help reverse the fortunes of the city and become a bit of an answer to that problem. Thank you. As you can see, however, there was a bit of an unfortunate side effect to the new bridge. And what actually happened was that it cut the city off from its waterfront, and it meant that it turned its back on its river and its means of prosperity. So this resulted in the city being a little bit lost for the next 40 years or so, and it tried its hand at various other means of reversing its fortunes. It looked at industry, it looked at service industry, technology, but nothing really took us back to where we were in the 19th century. So fast forward to 2001, and an enlightened vision for the city. And the key thing about this vision was, let's reconnect the city with its waterfront. Let's really look at how we can use this again to reverse the fortunes of the city and to right the wrongs of the past. As you can see in the middle at the front there, the key part of this strategy, the flagship project, is V&A at Dundee. So what is V&A at Dundee? It's a partnership between the city's universities, and of course the world's greatest museum of art and design, the V&A. It also brings me to my favourite fact, and that is that it's the first design museum to be built in the UK outside of London ever, which is really incredible for the city of Dundee. It's a real coup, and it's fantastic to bring it to Scotland too. So here I've got some shots of the building. We haven't started to build yet, we'll be starting to build later this year, and we expect to be open in 2015. I'm just going to pause on this image of the facade because it's very important to note that Kengo Kuma, our architect, really likes to always reference the local environment in his buildings, no matter where they are in the world. So in this case, he really wanted to look at the cliff formations of Scotland's northeast coast. And so here you can see them referenced in the kind of strata-like bands of the facade. Talking of Kengo Kuma, it's important to note that his vision for V&A Dundee was also that it would become a real living room for the city. It would be a place for everybody to enjoy and to be proud of. Of course, there'll be a restaurant, and we'll also have creative learning spaces, creative learning being an incredibly important part of V&A at Dundee. And then there's some shots here of our gallery spaces. And as you can see within the architecture, there are these skylights in the ceiling and these slot windows. And the idea behind that is that it's not just a big white cube gallery. You can always reference the city. You'll always have a real sense of place. And we're very excited to see how that looks, and it means that you'll always know that you're in Dundee, and you'll be able to see the bridges, and you'll be able to see the Discovery ship and all of these things. So V8 Dundee isn't just a building, it's also based on three very important interconnected strands. These are Scottish design heritage, creative learning, and design-led business innovation. So what unites all of these three areas of activity? The common thread is design and innovation, and that permeates everything that V8 Dundee will do and everything that we're about. For example, our displays of design heritage will illustrate Scotland's incredible past, this real history of design innovation which isn't really told around the world at the moment. Our creative learning, our wider ambition for this, is to introduce all audiences to the idea of design innovation as something that everybody can enjoy and participate in and be empowered by. And then design-led business innovation, which has ultimately grown out of the idea of design in action. And what we are trying to do with design-led business innovation is really place design at the heart of industry, at the heart of business and enterprise. At present, we feel in Scotland that design is seen as, an add-on or something to be included at the end if it can be afforded. But we feel that people are really missing an opportunity in this, so we want to place it right at the heart. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Scotland's design heritage because, as I say, the story isn't really very widely known and it's incredibly exciting. When I was taught design history at art college, there wasn't an awful lot of Scotland talked about in that, so it's really good to spread that story. So we have the work of people like Phoebe Anna-Tricaire, who is a bit of a polymath really, and she kind of really epitomises this idea of a design innovator. She was an illustrator, a jeweller, an enamel maker. She created illuminated manuscripts. We also, we like to say we invented the picture postcard, not many people know that, but printing processes and photography combined, those two innovations, and actually Dundee is the home of the first picture postcard with a company called Valentine's. The Paisley pattern, of course, with its connection to India, but Paisley is also a place in Scotland and that's where this originates from. And of course we have Charles Rennie Mackintosh and the Glasgow School of Art. And Margaret MacDonald, also part of the Glasgow School. Then of course there's our architectural and engineering stars. The Sydney Harbour Bridge, the pylons of the Sydney Harbour Bridge were designed by Thomas Tate, who is a Scottish engineer. And Basil Spence, one of our most prolific talents. Here we have Coventry Cathedral, which he designed when it was to be rebuilt after the Second World War. This one here, Dennis the Menace, again something that originated in Dundee, and that really kind of sums up this idea of comics, graphics, print, and all of these traditions combining together. Textiles, of course, a huge part of Scotland's history. So here we have our Fairall knitters. And of course, Pringle knitwear. And then we also have expertise in print and weave. And then again, back to Basil Spence, this time with his furniture. And then these incredible creations by the Scottish designer Bill Gibb in the 70s and early 80s. Then of course we can't talk about Scottish design without our contemporary designers, who are really tearing it up in the world of design at the moment. We have Ian Callum, who is the design director of Jaguar. We have the likes of RMJM and Nicol Russell Architects, who created the Falkirk Wheel. And of course, Grand Theft Auto was designed and created in Scotland and continues to be so today. This next couple of slides look at something else that V&A Dundee is very interested in, and this is this idea of the wider application of design technologies to things outside of the traditional disciplines. So this, for example, is a collaboration with life sciences with one of the universities in Dundee, looking at the actions of molecules. And then this is one of our PhD students who looks at forensic jewellery identification. So this is really about this wider application of design to address the social issues that we face today. And then, of course, fashion. Scotland plays a huge role in fashion. We have Faye MacLeod, who is the visual creative director for Louis Vuitton. So she is the idea behind these fabulous catwalk and set design kind of creations, and also behind all of the store designs for Louis Vuitton. And then we have a bit of a montage here. We have Jonathan Saunders, Christopher Kane, Holly Fulton and Louise Gray, who are all setting the catwalks of London Fashion Week on fire this week. And then we have Scottish Designer of the Year, Hayley Scanlon, who again is a graduate of Duncan & Johnston, which we're very proud of. And this is a still from a catwalk show that we helped her to launch her first diffusion line collection last year. And then looking at companies which have their roots very firmly in Scotland. Unfortunately, they're not owned by Scottish families anymore, but the likes of Macintosh still take their inspiration from their Scottish roots. And then this is something else that's very interesting and exciting for us. This idea of these internationally renowned designers like Yohei Yamamoto and Vivienne Westwood, who use indigenous Scottish textiles in their work. So Yamamoto uses Harris tweed for all of his menswear, and Vivienne Westwood has used both Harris tweed and tartan as key fabrics within her collections since the early 90s. So all of these things you've just seen here will be housed in two of V&A Dundee's 4 galleries. So this is a bit of our sort of Scottish design heritage montage here. The other 2 galleries will host large-scale international touring exhibitions from the likes of the V&A for the first 2 years, and then latterly from other international providers. So this here is a map detailing the international destinations of the V&A's touring exhibitions for the last 10 years. So come 2015, Scotland will also join that illustrious list. So the kind of exhibitions we'll show will be things like Kylie, China Design Now. This is a particularly interesting one for V&A Dundee. This is called Decode, Digital Design Sensations. And this helps illustrate for V&A Dundee, digital will be an incredibly important part of our offering because of the history of games and animation design in Scotland. So digital will be a huge, huge thing for us. And then other exhibitions like postmodernism, British Design Now, House of Annie Lennox, ball gowns, and Hollywood costume. This exhibition has just closed down in London, and it was the fastest selling and also the most popular exhibition that V&A have ever created. And we're incredibly interested in bringing this up to Scotland as one of our earliest exhibitions. Also, another one that we're very interested in is Power of Making. This exhibition was a bit of a surprise hit for the V&A. They'd put it in one of their smaller galleries, and they really weren't anticipating the reaction that they got to it. Again, it was one of their most popular exhibitions. It was so good I actually went to see it twice. But that really looked at this idea of craft and what is craft for the 21st century. So it's not just felted fridge magnets. It's really about really using that ingenuity and innovative idea. So this dress here, for example, was a dress which was made from pins. I don't think you could actually wear it, but it really was incredible to look at. They also had giant knitting, coffins from Ghana, and this innovative bike that was designed in Britain. And we'll have your Yamamoto, hopefully, if we can get that one too. So hopefully you can see from that everything B&A Dundee is about and stands for is informed by this idea of design and innovation and how the two things work together. It's worth also mentioning, of course, design in action, which permeates everything that we do. And design in action for us is really all the activities that promote this idea of design innovation. One of the reasons that the Scottish Government is funding B&A Dundee is because of the idea that we can really promote this idea of design-led business innovation. And in turn, the hope is that design will contribute to the economy and the economic regeneration, not just of Dundee, but of Scotland, and then on this international stage as well, which resonates with what you were saying earlier. So of course, just bringing it back around to the idea behind the whole talk, we have this idea of design and innovation and the waterfront all combining together to really reconnect the city with its waterfront. And I'm just going to leave you, I can't leave my marketing roots behind. Please do follow us online on Facebook and Twitter and on our website. Was that a perfect time? Yeah. Thank you.